There's a lot going on here in Sri Lanka and around the world. To stay updated with the very latest, you're watching Primetime News here on TV1. Bringing you the news from the news desk, I am Sandro Satyajit. Before we go into your news in detail, let's take a look at your top stories for this evening. Drought affects over 41,000 farmers. Minister of Irrigation says government must bear responsibility for drop in harvests. Wild animals in Yala suffer due to lack of water. Water supplied in Bowsers. Who will be the next leader of the Pohot tour? Do right by the party supporters. Leaders of the Pohot tour should flex their powers in the government. A statement from SP Disanaika. A protest against the construction of a power plant in the Hambantota Elephant Management Zone. 120 doctors who left the country blacklisted. A GMOA request for a solution to the issue. On to news in detail now. With the prevailing arid weather conditions, groundwater levels in the country have reduced drastically. Now, the Water Resources Board says that groundwater levels in the districts of Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, Monaragala and Hambantota have reduced, resulting in the increase of salinity levels. The recommendations as to how much groundwater could be released for commercial and agricultural purposes should be obtained from the Water Resources Board. Now, more than 41,000 farmers have been affected as a result of the arid weather conditions. According to the latest statistics of the Agriculture and Agrarian Insurance Board, the exact amount of farmers suffering from these weather conditions is 41,046.
It has been reported that 46,539 acres of rice fields have been destroyed by arid weather conditions. The Agricultural and Agrarian Insurance Board said multiple cultivations, including paddy, potatoes, bee onions, soy and chili, have been affected. What is the situation in Kurunegala, the district that has suffered the worst impact of the drought? This was the situation at many of the rice fields in Nikavaratia, Hulugalla, Kurunegala. Farmers lament that there isn't even sufficient rice to prepare porridge for their own consumption. They point out that many vavas, including the Bakmigaha vava, Alut vava, Ambagaha vava and the Kogahamulla vava, have dried up.
More than 300 acres of paddy fields in Nikavaratia have been destroyed as a result of arid weather conditions. Farmers don't even have paddy to prepare some porridge. Even animals do not have water to drink. We had pawned our jewelry to cultivate these fields. Today we have turned into hay.
How have the water levels of the reservoirs been affected by the arid weather? The water level of the Hurulu Vava in Galinbindanu Vava has reduced. Farmers say it has been 15 years since the water level of the Hurulu Vava has reduced to this extent. Engineer in charge of the Hurulu Vava, Dasun Tilakaratna, said the water capacity of the Vava has reduced to 7,000 acre-feet.
The water level of the Vava has reduced drastically. We are not certain about starting this season. We urge the authorities to intervene instead of waiting for the last minute.
Farmers took steps to remove the sluice gate of the Mahaveli Kadara Vava that allows water from the Kiriban Ara Vava to flow downstream through the Surya Vava, Mahaveli Kadara Vava. Farmers claim that even though it has been 4 days since water has not been released to the Vallava left bank from the Kiribanara Vava, low-lying areas have not received water yet.
Paddy plants get destroyed. We remove this spillway gate so that farmers can cultivate their crops without any problem. They lower these gates and the low-lying areas do not get water. The canals get blocked. Therefore, after informing the Mahaveli authority, we remove this gate legally. Now areas in Andhra Vava will receive water. Rice fields of farmers have been destroyed and it has come to a point where the people are fighting with each other, unable to divide the available water among them. This is a huge problem. The releasing of water from the Samanal was delayed. There are those who didn't even get a drop of water that was released. Even our paddy fields did not get a single drop of water. This is regretful.
Minister of Irrigation Roshan Ranasinghe says the government must be held responsible for the situation that the farmers are facing now.
The government must accept responsibility to a certain extent with regard to the fall in the harvest. That is the reality. We are of the stance that compensation must be paid to farmers in addition to the compensation paid by the Agricultural and Agrarian Insurance Board. The cabinet is also of this stance.
Water levels of the Kandalama Reservoir and the Ibban Katua Vava in Dambulla have reduced drastically owing to the prevailing arid weather conditions. The total water capacity of the Kandalama Reservoir is 27,318 acre-feet, and owing to the prevailing weather conditions, water levels are at only 4,000 acre-feet. What are the crops that have been affected by the arid weather conditions? Multiple crops, including tea, have been affected owing to the arid weather conditions. Tea cultivators say that owing to this issue, their income has drastically reduced. Chairman of the Small Tea Estate Development Authority, Dhammika Mahipala, says tea production in the island has reduced by 18%. Chairman of the Sri Lanka State Plantations Cooperation, Shrimal Vijayasekara, said tea harvests from its estates have reduced by 50%. This was the situation at the tea cultivations in Balangoda.
We do not have food to eat at home. We can't send our children to school. All the tea plants have been destroyed. The government authorities are not looking into this. Tea cultivation is our livelihood. When they are destroyed, we can't make ends meet. We request for some relief.
Tea cultivators point out that owing to the arid weather conditions, they cannot operate their factories.
We have lost more than 70% of the tea leaves that we usually receive. Now we only get 30%. We maintain these factories with much hardship. We have a problem in providing jobs to our employees so that they can make ends meet.
How has the arid weather conditions affected power generation? Hydropower generation has reduced by 13%. The Ceylon Electricity Board says that the capacity of reservoirs used to generate hydropower have reduced by 26.7%. How has the supply of clean drinking water been affected? Water supply in 10 districts have been affected owing to the arid weather conditions. 45 water supply systems have been impacted. Consumers in these areas are being provided with water intermittently. Many areas in the Batiklo district have been affected owing to the arid weather conditions. People in areas including Vahaneri, Kudamunekal and Kulavadi Chennai are facing a severe shortage of clean drinking water. Families have to travel several kilometers from their homes and dig up holes with their bare hands just to get some water.
People in
the villages of Poruttuipattu and Vellaveli divisional secretariats in the Batiklo district are also facing a severe water crisis. How has the wildlife and forest reserves been affected by the arid weather conditions? The Wildlife Department says water is being provided to animals in forest reserves. The department's Director of Media, Hasini Sarachandra, said water is being provided to water filling locations around tourist areas using bowsers. The Udavalava National Park is the worst affected by the arid weather conditions. According to our correspondent, many vavas in the forest have dried up. President Ranil Wickremesinghe engaged in an inspection tour at the Yala National Park on Saturday morning. Due to the prevailing arid weather, a program was also implemented to release water to the water ponds located in the forest park, and these activities were observed by the President. Minister Hareen Fernando and US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chung were also present.
Due to the current arid weather conditions, the number of people suffering from the lack of water to meet their basic needs is increasing daily. As a responsible media organization, we have one message for you. Use water sparingly. The water that you save will quench the thirst of countless people who are suffering without water. Let's use water sparingly, because together we can overcome this challenge. A clean drinking water project rested with the people of Samagipura, a remote village in Sevanagala. Ending the decades-long quest in search of water. Another initiative successfully completed by Government. For the people, by the people. Welcome back to the news. A protest was staged in Sinikugala, Hambantota, demanding for the construction of a solar power plant at the Hambantota Elephant Management Zone to be stopped immediately.
The protest was organized by the Walawa Left Bank United Farmers Organization, Youth for Change Organization and the Environment Center. The group protested for about 2 hours.
Farmers from Hambantota, Suryavava and Valsapugala protested, asking for a jungle for elephants. Even now, the forest where the elephants live is being destroyed. These rulers and officials put the profit of companies and organizations first and create an atmosphere where humans and animals are in conflict with each other. The rulers stay silent and allow the companies to destroy our environment as they wish. We would like to remind the government to stop this immediately. The destruction of this section of the forest affects the Sinikugala farming village on the other side. The companies put up high-power electric fences and protect themselves and their projects, while we on the other side are being destroyed. We kindly request the responsible officials to take this matter into consideration and give us a suitable solution, or else we are ready to risk our lives and prepare for this battle against them. This area is under attack by a commercial entity. From the dry zones in Sri Lanka, Hambantota is an area that is classified as an extremely dry zone. Therefore, we are informing the rulers living in their air-conditioned offices. This is the environment we live in. We will not allow for the destruction of this environment. The animals are protected only if these trees are protected, and it is only if animals are saved that humans will be protected. This country is being governed by a bunch of foolish leaders who can't even understand this simple concept. Therefore, we will not allow this area to become a desert. From this day forth, we will unite as one and fight together to defeat these actions. Meanwhile, many political parties had organized several meetings today. Power in Parliament and the government were the highlight of these discussions at these events. Now, these are the views expressed at the North Colombo Balamandala meeting of the SLPP.
The meeting was chaired by SLPP parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksha.
Namal Rajapaksha Bettumada Radhe Anagata Nayakiyada Radhe Anagata Nayakiyada Radhe Anagata Nayakiyada Namal Rajapaksha Bettumada Namal
Loke හැම රටකම හොයාගන්න අමාරුම දේ තමයි නායකයෝ කියන්නේ.
The hardest thing to find in the world are talented leaders. Developed countries do not want great leaders to be born in countries like ours. For many years, they accused the leader who ended the war and developed this country greatly to be a thief and corrupted the minds of the people. We have received information that millions of dollars that were received to carry out these contracts have been invested in Malta. this conspiracy is now being revealed.
අන්තර්ජාතිකට ලැබිච්ච ඩොලර් මිලියන ගාන ගෙනහිල්ලා අන්න දැන් ආරංචි වෙලා තියෙනවා මෝල්ටාවේ ආයෝජනය කරලා තියෙනවා. මේ රටේ කුමන්ත්‍රණය දැන් එළි වෙමින් තියෙනවා.
නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ සාතකයේ දාන එනකොට මෙතනින් අපිට
Who does Namal Rajapaksa remind us of when he is wearing the Satakya? They are the real sons. We all feel the aura. Namal Rajapaksa, the future hope of this country, who speaks to the heart of the youth of the nation. May I be permitted to speak, no matter who says what. I would like to remind you that the next president of the country will be appointed by the SLPP.
ඊළඟ මේ රටේ ජනාධිපති කවුරු මොන විදිහට කිව්වත් නියත වශයෙන්ම ජනාධිපතිපත් කරන්නේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ පාට්ටුවයි කියන කාරණාව මතක් කරමින් මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මෙතුමාට බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මෙතුමාට අනාගත බලාපොරොත්තු නාමල් රාජපක්ෂට ඔබ සැමට ජය වේවා.
අපි මැතිවරණ මුහුණ දීපු හැම මැතිවරණයක්ම අපි ජයග්‍රහණය කළා.
We have won every election that we faced. The SLPP isn't a party that loses. Some members of Sajid Premadasa's political party say that they are ready to join forces with Ranil Wickremesinghe. They say that the premiership should be given to Sajid Premadasa. They said that they were once in the same political party. Yes, they were in the same political party. They believe that when Sajid Premadasa becomes the Prime Minister under Ranil Wickremesinghe, then Ranil Wickremesinghe is good. But when the Pohottu is supporting Ranil Wickremesinghe, he is bad. They should explain to the general public the reason for this double standard. When it's Ranil Rajapaksa, he is not good. But when it's Ranil Premadasa, he's good.
Parliamentarian SP Disanayake says that the leaders of the SLPP must show more strength in the parliament to do justice for the party members. He made this statement speaking at the Hanguranketha Balamandala meeting of the party. There is only one more year left. Next year's presidential election cannot be avoided. The only solution is to rise from the ashes. We as the SLPP made the president who didn't even win a single seat in parliament the prime minister, and then we made him the president. But unfortunately, the party was not represented in the cabinet the way the party wanted. We tried our best to give the leaders of our party key positions in the government, but we couldn't do that yet. I still think that if the party shows more power and speaks about our needs in parliament, since we still hold a majority, it will not be difficult for us to achieve this. I think that this issue can be solved. I think that our former president Mahinda Rajapaksa and the founder of this party Basil Rajapaksa should keep the strength of the party in their hands and deal with this with the president to resolve this issue.
Meanwhile, the People's Freedom Congress says that the previous government's arbitrary decisions led to the collapse of the country. The Kamburupitiya Balamandala meeting of the People's Freedom Congress was held today.
Dallas Alha Peruma and the party leaders representing the People's Freedom Congress attended the meeting. The house where Mahinda and Gotabaya were born is not too far away. We supported those powers at the time for their policies and not as slaves. They started showing signs of their ego right after the presidential election. In the end, they didn't include the talented players into the team. Instead, they included people like the water boys. The best batsmen and bowlers were sidelined. This Pohottua is like a bicycle without its handle and axle. The bicycle is of no use like that. That is why Ranil Wickremesinghe has been brought to ride the bicycle. Despite his attempts, the bicycle doesn't move now.
මගෙත් මේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාගේ කල්සම් වැටෙනවට කවදාවත් නෑ. ජනාධිපතිතුමනි ලකුණු. රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්මයාට පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ එක ඡන්දයයි තිබුණේ. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ කී දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවද? 225න් එකක් කියන්නේ 100ට කී?
Ranil Wickremesinghe had only one vote in parliament. How many are there in parliament? How much is 1 in 225? Is it 0.5? For the first time in history, a leader was appointed like that in parliament. Let's leave that aside. He had 32,000 preferential votes and he lost from the Colombo district. It is written in the presidential election law that the president must obtain at least 50% plus votes. This president has only 1.6%. We cannot blame only him for this. All democratic forces in this country should unite under one banner to throw out this insensitive and arbitrary regime of Ranil Wickremesinghe.
ජාත්‍යන්ත්‍රීය බලවේග එක දජයක් යටතේ ඒකරාශී විය යුතුයි.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says that the time has come to take the proper decisions to overcome the challenges the country is facing.
අද අපි සිටින්නේ අනාරක්ෂිත රටක බංකොලොත් භාවයට පත් වුණු රටක මෙවන් රටක් තුල සුපුරුදු කාර්යය තමයි අනුන්ගේ වැරදි පිළිබඳව
Today we live in an unsafe and bankrupt nation. In a country like this, what is most prevalent is looking into the mistakes of others. Nevertheless, to bring back this country from its bankruptcy, we must all work together. We have a responsibility in this regard. It is also the sad truth that the local political landscape is filled with the greed for designations and valuables. When thousands of people are helpless, the state's wealth is being destroyed. Our resources are limited. We must utilize these limited resources towards the betterment of the country. But even today, corruption and fraud is rampant in the country. This is a national crime. Against such a backdrop, we need to take decisions without delay. The time has come to take decisions without delay for the betterment of the nation and our culture.
මෙවන් තත්වයක් තුල අප්‍රමාදව අපි තීන්දුව තීරණ ගන්නට ඕන. රට ජාති ආගම සංස්කෘතිය මේ රටේ සත්ජාතිකත්වයේ ශ්‍රී ලාංකිකත්වයේ වෙනුවෙන් අප්‍රමාදව තීන්දුව තීරණ ගන්නට කාලය එළඹිලා තිබෙනවා.
The ceremony to pay tribute to the Nalaka Gamuwe Sri Sumana Sarabidana Thero, who was awarded the honorary title of second Sanganayaka with the title of Saddharma Kirti Sri Ananda Sarananda, was held today at the Bomalu Rajamaha Viharaya in Pahala, Nalaka Gamuwa Kurunagala. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa handed over the Sannas Patre to Nalaka Gamuwe Sri Sumana Sarabidana Thero. Governor of the Northwestern Province Lakshman Yapa Bewardhana presented the Vijinipata to the Thero.
The Jatika Janabalavagiya says that the rulers have always divided the people for their own benefit. Anrukumar Dissanayake, the leader of the National People's Force, the Jatika Janabalavagiya, expressed their views while addressing the Gampaha electorate meeting today. What did they do? They suppressed the real problems and created new ones. They created a false divide within the country. In 2005, Ranil's party was anti-patriotic, while Mahinda's party was patriotic. You remember the white flags, don't you? In 2019, 2015, Ranil's camp was democratic and Mahinda's camp was anti-democratic. In 2019, the party that destroyed national security was Ranil's party, and Mahinda's party confirmed national security. Now Ranil Wickremesinghe is the president of the government controlled by Mahinda Rajapaksa's party. Ranil Wickremesinghe is saying fight for democracy. Mahinda Rajapaksa was saying fight for democracy. The rest of them were enjoying it and applauding like they were watching one of Gamli Fonseca's movies. There is a hero and a villain. At one time the villain is Mahinda and the hero is Ranil. In the next movie the villain is Ranil and the hero is Mahinda. And now in this movie both of them are jokers. They are looking for a new hero. That is the truth. But what has happened is the chapter of politics in Sri Lanka has come to an end. The true divide has begun in the country. This is that divide.
ලංකාවේ දේශපාලන පරිච්ඡේදය අවසන් වෙලා ලංකාවේ ඇත්ත බෙදීම දැන් නිර්මාණය වෙලා තිබෙනවා මේ ඉන්නේ ඒ බෙදීම තමයි.
The main hospital providing maternal health services in the southern province is the Mahamodara Teaching Hospital in Galle. Now the hospital officials pointed out that they too will be severely affected by the migration of skilled medical officers in the near future. The total number of doctors currently working in the Galle Mahamodara Teaching Hospital is 96. 4 of those doctors who worked in the hospitals have now migrated to foreign countries. More than 10 other doctors have made the necessary qualifications for jobs in foreign countries. There is a risk of them resigning from their posts here in the near future. Currently 2 doctors of the neonatal intensive care unit have gone abroad. Doctors from the anesthesia unit are also set to leave the country shortly for foreign employment. If so, there is a risk of all the maternal care services collapsing in the future. Meanwhile, we reported earlier that most of the operations at the pediatric cardiac catheterization unit in the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital are at a standstill. This situation has arisen due to the migration of the only pediatric cardiologist who worked at the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital. The Hospital Committee of Rapitiya Teaching Hospital said that there are significant challenges in conducting pediatric heart surgeries.
120 specialist doctors who have left the country have been blacklisted. Those blacklisted are a group of specialist doctors who have left the country and not yet reported for work. The Ministry of Health said 363 doctors left for foreign training and returned to the island from the 9th of January 2022 to last Friday. The ministry said that 120 doctors of that group had left the island again. They have been blacklisted in this manner as they have not reported back to work. The Ministry of Health said that out of the 29 anesthesiologists, 12 of them have migrated. The Ministry of Health also said that although the blacklisted specialists can return to the country, they must submit an appeal to the Public Service Commission if they want to continue in their medical profession. What is this brain drain? Why are the professionals leaving the country? Health unions previously said that medical and other professionals that made the decision to leave the country did so owing to the heavy tax burden as well as the uncertainty of the country's political future. The All Ceylon Government Medical Officers Association pointed out that in order to prevent doctors from leaving the country, immediate solutions should be given to the issues that the medical professionals face. The uncertainty of the country's direction, low salaries, heavy tax burden, heavy work pressure, insecurity of the health profession, and lack of facilities to provide satisfactory services are the reasons why doctors are leaving the country. If the Minister of Health thinks that they can retain the doctors by threatening them and blacklisting them instead of solving their problems, they are wrong. If they continue to threaten the professionals, the remaining doctors will also leave the country. The authorities allowed the problem to evolve into a crisis. The directors of the Ministry of Health, who are talking about suspending and blacklisting medical professionals, did not interfere or do anything to prevent this crisis from escalating. Now, in order to prevent the situation from escalating further, we should immediately intervene and provide the necessary solutions without delaying what must be done. This is the Government Medical Officers Association's stance on the matter. More than 1,500 medical professionals have left the country in the past year and are continuing their medical practice abroad. There are close to 5,000 more doctors waiting to migrate and practice medicine abroad. So there is a definite brain drain in the health sector. The situation of the health sector cannot be compared with the situation of any other sector of the country. This is an extraordinary situation. Roughly, if an individual is recruited to the medical faculty, it takes 7 years to produce a fully qualified doctor. It takes 10 to 12 years to produce a specialist doctor. Even if we find a solution to this issue today, it takes even longer to see the results. All that we have to say is that the Ministry of Health should at least create a program that will convince these medical professionals who are hoping to migrate overseas to remain in the country.
The Professional Forum of Physicians on Medical and Civil Rights made another revelation today. By now, the Health Ministry has accepted that there is a mold or fungus on the dialysis caps used for kidney filtering process. The most important thing is that these dialysis caps are confirmed to be an emergency purchase. The entire country should know that this emergency purchase was made despite there being 150,000 dialysis caps in the medical supply unit. So because of this emergency purchase, the country has lost a minimum of 50 million rupees, otherwise equivalent to 150,000 US dollars. For full supply, 1.2 million dialysis cups have been requested in that order. They have taken measures to get 0.5 million of those caps by November last year. Now the question here is, when there are more than enough dialysis cups in the medical supply unit that can be used up until the year 2024, why did they purchase millions of dialysis cups in addition to that, while incurring a loss of over 50 million rupees for the country? The Ministry of Health should be held accountable for this. Similarly, if If it is confirmed that there is some kind of mold or fungus on these equipment brought to the country without proper quality control checks, Minister of Health Kehriya Rambukwella should make a statement before the media claiming responsibility for the 10 to 15 lives lost because of this.
ඒව නිසා මිය ගිහිපු රෝගීන් 10 දෙනා නැත්නම් 15 දෙනාගේ ජීවිතවලට සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍ය කෙහෙලිය රඹුක්කැල්ල වග කියනවද කියලා ඔය ජනමාධ්‍ය ඉදිරියේ ප්‍රකාශයක් කරන්න ඕන.
News first with the people.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri spoke about Sri Lanka's relations with neighbouring India and China's involvement with the island nation. He was speaking to The Print, an Indian online newspaper.
India probably wants some assurances that Sri Lanka will not be part of any activity which could reasonably term as legitimate security concerns for India, which is fair enough, I think.
What does that mean, Mr. Sabri?
I think they probably want Sri Lanka not to be used by any other third country in a manner which could threaten the Indian security.
Who is this third country?
I don't know. That you should ask them.
The foreign minister said that India has traditionally respected Sri Lanka's territorial integrity.
The relationship between China and Sri Lanka is basically very economic and commercial. But as far as Indian relationship is concerned, we are neighbors, we have political, social, economic, religious ties leading to many, many centuries. It's a civilizational tie. So we understand the difference.
Do you think Sri Lanka is becoming a contested sort of territory between India's interest and China's?
No, I don't agree with that. Basically, Sri Lanka is an independent sovereign state. We take decisions based on what is right for Sri Lanka. But while we making decisions, we need to be responsible for our neighbors. If that's how you can be a responsible neighbor, because we need a peaceful zone in the whole Indian Ocean.
The Print also spoke to the foreign minister about concerns of India colonizing Sri Lanka.
While we safeguard our sovereignty, we will continue to work with that. Just like what the ASEANs are working together, how the European Union is working together, how the GCC is working together. There is always to work with each other and mutually prosper and mutually benefit out of it. And I don't see, it doesn't occur to me why anyone even question that Sri Lanka should be colonized by Indians. And that's not even an issue at all.
If you read the Sri Lankan media, your media, there's a lot of concern and apprehension expressed exactly along these lines.
Yeah, I know. That's what I told, that some people feel like that, but that's the way. There will be always about a minority of a group create this fear psychosis. If you look at the First World War and the Second World War, fought amongst the Europeans. They fought each other. They hate each other. But 15 years down the line, they realize, what a waste of time, what a waste of opportunity. Why don't you work together and see the result? 30 years down the line, they are the wealthiest economies in the world and everybody prospered together. India is a big player. India's economy growing. I think for everybody's benefit that the whole region should be carried through.
You think India can take the lead?
Yes, of course. I mean, if you don't see that, I think either you are not seeing the real picture or you are a fool.
Divi Savya, the second leg of the Divi Savya program to provide much needed school books and stationery items to school children in Sri Lanka. 21st of August, Ibbagamua and Kurunagala.
Dai Daruwange Anagate Venuwen Divi Savya, LOLC Prajasatkara Mehevara.
In other local news, State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya has appointed a committee to look into the protection of domestically produced substitute goods. Now, posting on X, formerly known as Twitter, the State Minister said that steps were taken upon the lifting of import restrictions. The committee will meet once every 2 weeks and discuss on tax management between imported goods and required taxes on domestically produced goods as well. On to other news now. According to the IMF tracker of Verite Research, Sri Lanka has met 35 of the 57 commitments on the International Monetary Fund program that was due to be completed by the end of July.
The latest survey by Verite Research shows that the share of Sri Lanka's 100 trackable commitments in the International Monetary Fund program, which no data has been made available to assess progress despite passing the agreed deadline, has increased from 9% in March to 15% in July. The think tank notes that the lack of information to make a reasonable assessment about these commitments highlight a growing lack of visibility on the government's progress on the IMF program. Verite Research points out that the rise in the number of commitments on which the achievement is unknown could mean one of two things. One, the government has failed to meet these commitments and is not making the information public to delay the recognition of failure. Two, the government does not see the public or parliament as important stakeholders in program implementation and is uninterested in providing them with critical information. According to Verite Research, there are 71 commitments due to be completed by the end of September, when the IMF conducts its first review of the program and would normally disperse the second tranche of funding. To get there, Sri Lanka needs to verifiably complete 18 commitments a month in August and September. The findings are based on the IMF tracker of Verite Research, which tracks the program's progress.
We are all in the midst of various challenges, but despite these challenges, we all want to experience the joy of life. News First Sirasa were able, with the people, to share both the joy and sorrow in every challenge our country faced. So even today, amidst these challenges, we came to the southern province and shared the happiness with the people with Sri Lanka's biggest Kite Festival, Sirasa TV Surf Excel Kites Festival 2023.
Sirasa TV Surf Excel Kites Festival 2023.
A large number of people, both young and old, came to the Mathura Beach Park this morning to join the Sirasa TV Surf Excel Kites Festival 2023. They were also given the opportunity to have fun as well as to get prizes and certificates under many categories like Action Kite, Magic Kite, Most Creative Kite, Most Colorful Kite, Biggest Kite, Vertical Kite, etc. The Mathura Municipal Council and Mathura Police joined hands with Sirasa TV for this Kite Festival. Many artists, including Rukman Asita, Kavisha Kaviraj, Dimanka Vellalage, Nilan Hettiarachchi, Shanika Vanigasekara and Satisha Bath performed at the Sirasa TV Surf Excel Kites Festival 2023.
Sirasa TV Surf Excel Kites Festival 2023.
On to news overseas now. Niger's coup leader has proposed a 3-year transition to civilian rule after a meeting with the delegation from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS delegation. He warned that any military intervention in Niger will not be a walk in the park for those involved.
Niger's coup leader has proposed a 3-year transition to civilian rule after meeting a delegation of West African leaders. The general, speaking on national television late on Saturday, gave no details on the planned transition of power, saying only that the principles for the move would be decided within 30 days at a dialogue to be hosted by the ruling military council. But he warned, quote, "Let us be clear. If an attack were to be undertaken against us, it will not be the walk in the park some people seem to think," unquote. The Economic Community of West African States has imposed severe sanctions on Niger following the July 26th coup and has ordered the deployment of a standby force to restore constitutional rule in the country. The bloc said on Friday that an undisclosed D-Day had been agreed for possible military intervention and that 11 of its 15 member states had agreed to commit troops to the operation.
On to sports news now. Spain's La Roja subdue England's Lionesses to win the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023. Spain won their first FIFA Women's World Cup, defeating England 1-0 in the final today. The eyes of the football world were on the Olympic Park in Sydney on Sunday as Spain took on England in the final of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023. England boss Sarina Wiegman fielded the same lineup that started the semi-final against co-host Australia, and Ella Toone preferred over Lauren James, available following suspension. Spain meanwhile had benched the two-time Ballon d'Or winner Alexia Putellas, with former professional sprinter Salma Paruello leading the line. Spain took the lead at the half-hour mark when Olga Carmora scored with a guided shot to the bottom right corner. Spain started the second half with the same intensity and were awarded a penalty in the 67th minute. Despite England pushing for an equaliser with 13 minutes of added time confirmed, they failed to breach Spain's defence, handling La Roja their maiden Women's World Cup title. That's a wrap of primetime news here on TV1. Bringing you the news from the news desk, I am Sandro Satyajit. Have a beautiful night.